what role do we play in the creation of our reality, and how does our consciousness affect that? In today's video, I'm going to be reading from Neville Goddard's book, At Your Command. This is chapter 2. We might even get to chapter 3. We are going to be talking first about what exactly consciousness is and how we manifest according to Neville Goddard. So he says, the word or desire must be fixed or united with consciousness to give it reality. For example, if it is a state of health that you are desirous of attaining, before you have any evidence of health in your world, you begin to feel yourself to be healthy. And I know I've talked about this in a different video where it can be a lot easier to manifest physical possessions than physical changes within your body, especially when, your knees are killing you when you're climbing stairs and you would really like to have that not be the case. And you're sitting there like every painful step, you're like, my body moves with ease. Like, it just seems so silly. And for me, before reading this, it didn't make sense to me why I would be doing that, which was ironic because I understand the concept that the state of having your desire has to come before you can actually have the desire. But when it comes to our physical body, maybe it's just because I'm, the present awareness we have with our physical state, whereas right now I'm staring at my car because I'm staring at the parking lot, but I don't see my car every second of every day, and so I don't think about it unless I'm called to. But my body I am aware of almost all the time, and if something hurts on my body, I'm even more aware of that. So what do you mean? If I want something to get better, I have to feel that it already is better, especially when it comes to really intense situations. So this is what Neville has to say. And the very second the feeling, I am healthy, is attained, the two have agreed. That is, I am and health have agreed to be one, and this agreement ever results in the birth of a child, which is the thing agreed upon, in this case, health. Confusing, maybe. But he's saying that the state of being, the state of consciousness, has to come before the physical result, and that your consciousness is the truth, and that your physical reality reflects whatever your truth is. So if you want to, manifest success in your career or more money or harmonious relationships, you need to feel that that is true for you. You need to enter that state of consciousness, that state of being, and act from it. I believe we went over this in chapter 1. In part 1, the video. Again, it's difficult, right? When you have the old reflections of your lack showing up all around you. It can be very difficult to tune that out. What Neville says is that all of your present beliefs, fears, and limitations are weights that bind you to your present level of consciousness. So, think about manifesting from a state of lack. Maybe your car isn't enjoyable, something, it makes a rattling sound, the air conditioning doesn't work, right? Maybe the air conditioning in your house isn't working so well either, just I'm trying to give examples, but these are the weights that bind you to your old or present consciousness. And if you want to be free of these circumstances and shift into that new consciousness, you have to free yourself from those weights. So he says to do this, if you would like to transcend this level, you must leave behind all that is now your present self or conception of self. So he's not saying that you really are this, but that is your concept, that I am, whatever this thing is. And I don't know, maybe you've heard like Paul Selig or other people talk about the statement I am and how much power that calls into the fact that you are stating, that the state of being, or the very essence of being. I don't know if I'm explaining it properly. And maybe hearing the way that Neville talks about it, it'll make more sense. So you have to leave your present self. So whoever you are saying you are, right? I am so tired of, that one coworker, or I am so tired of people getting my order wrong every time I go to the coffee shop, or I am so tired of this car and, the engine's just always giving me trouble, right? That is what you are. So to do this, to shift out of it and leave this behind, you must take your attention away from all that is now your problem or limitation and dwell upon just being. That is, you say silently, but feeling to yourself, I am. This is why meditation exercise is so powerful, because it takes you out of the loop of everything that you're not enjoying and just dwelling on it, right? So it's like you don't even necessarily have to fully shift into, say that you're I like the car metaphor. Say you're in your car and you're like, this thing's a piece of junk. I can't handle this. You don't even have to be like, oh, I'm in a luxury vehicle. The air conditioning feels amazing. These leather seats, so nice. You don't have to go that far. You just need to silence the negative thoughts. Easier said than done. I know we're talking about Neville Goddard right now, but I was reading Florence Scovel Shinn last night, and she makes a reference to Jehoshaphat, which I'm not like an expert on the Bible or anything, but she said he played his cymbals so loud to literally drown out his own thoughts to get himself to stop thinking. And I remember when I was learning to just cut out oh my gosh, it was such a loop of negative thinking. It was like nonstop. It was incessant. And I thought of when I was at the dentist as a kid, and they would like make you take those teeth molds and stuff. And if I got too anxious, I would, feel like I was going to throw up. Like it would trigger a gag reflex. And so what they would do is they would distract you. They'd be like, count your fingers, count your toes, shake your, left leg. Can you see something green outside? They would just keep your brain moving to keep it from thinking about that. And it's actually a trick I do when kids hurt themselves and I have to treat them, and they're like, no, if you clean the cut, it's gonna sting. And I'm like, yeah, but I need to clean the cut. And they're freaking out. I just have them, I'm like, okay, put your hand up and start counting your fingers or something. And I'm like, okay, was that so bad? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I did the whole thing. And they're like, oh, no, I didn't even notice. Do that. So just start counting other cars that you can see if you're in your car. Look for something red. Start singing a really obnoxious song to yourself. Start listing the things that you can see around you. Literally anything to get your brain out of that loop, to stop whatever it was. Just keep interrupting yourself, essentially. So Neville then goes on to say, do not condition this awareness as yet. Just declare yourself to be. So he's saying just stop all the chatter. Stop the old story. Don't worry about getting into a new state. Just try being. I personally love doing yoga. Doesn't even have to be, for me, it's mostly just deep stretching and a little bit of strength conditioning when I'm able to. Again, the healing from the accident is going very well. But I like it because I put on music that either has lyrics that help me. I love Trevor Hall. His music really helps bring you back to center and just be still and quiet with yourself. Or I like to put on stuff that Nordic stuff that I can't understand what they're saying, or classical music, something that just kind of helps me focus on the simplicity of the movement that I'm doing and the way my body is feeling without needing to shift into something else. So he is saying the more you just kind of shift into this state of just being and not needing to be anything other than that, it's an expansion of consciousness. And then within this depth that you find, because you'll feel it, you'll feel the shift, you can then give form to the new conception by feeling yourself to be that which you desire to be. So I think in the last video we talked about how you need to feel yourself existing in the space of already having what you want. So you don't want to be like pressed up against the glass looking at it like, oh, wouldn't it be so amazing if I had that life? No, what would it feel like to have that life? And then you want to show up in your life with that energy. Drive in your crappy car with that energy. Go to your job that you aren't enjoying with that energy. Navigate the apartment you hate with that energy, and just tune everything out. And I really want to tell the story of how Neville says to also help, or just like another metaphor story he uses about tuning things out. He gives, it's not going to be into like another book though, but he talks about being Daniel in the lion's den and that you have to tune out the lions. And I heard someone talking on TikTok about how like when she lived in an apartment she hated, she avoided the things that triggered her. So one thing was like every time she tried to do her makeup in the bathroom, it was so cramped. She'd like bang her elbow into something and she just hated it so much. So she stopped doing that because she wanted to stop fixating on being in this thing she hated. She started doing her makeup like in a mirror in another room where she had more space. Things like that. Like work with yourself to the extent that you can to avoid triggering those negative thoughts that perpetuate the state of consciousness and the state of your experience that you don't want to be experiencing anymore. Okay, so I'm going to run through some more quotes by him. He says, the only way to change your expression of life is to change your consciousness, meaning your reality is going to change. Your experience is going to change after your consciousness changes. And don't forget, with birds before land, signs don't precede, they follow. So if you're seeing signs, because I know like people will comment on my birds before land video and they're probably not watching this one, but they'll always be like, well, I saw a sign for this. Does this mean it's coming? Like, yeah, yes, it does. Yes, it does. Not because of anything outside of yourself, but because you, whether or not you shifted back out of it, but you were in the state of consciousness that you needed to be in. And so the signs started to show up. Go back to that state or stay in that state. Then he says, begin to revalue yourself. Man has placed too little value upon himself, because you can literally change your entire existence, your entire reality. Okay, so he says, you can only be to others what you are first to yourself. I know if you are working on healing codependency and what's it called, like being very self-sacrificing, catering to others, putting their needs before your own, usually that backfires on you, and that is because you can only be to others what you are first to yourself. So you'll be doing these for people, you'll be doing all these things for people that just never actually value you or appreciate you, and it's because you're not valuing yourself first. Been there, done that. That's a story for another day. Okay, I want to get through these. Okay, so then he uses the quote, I am the Lord. And he says that is man's awareness. His consciousness of being is God. So the embodiment of the creator energy is our awareness and our consciousness. And until this is firmly established so that no suggestion or argument put forward by others can shake it, he will find himself returning to the slavery of his former beliefs. So that is why when we start to see signs, but we're like, but it's just like this little thing and it's not the full thing, and then we just backslide back because we're like, but it's not enough. That is why it is so important to shift into a state of consciousness and then not need to see the actual results. Because when you don't need to see the actual results, you're not going to get triggered and you're just going to actually enjoy being in a new state of consciousness. Enjoying life? What? Difficult. Okay, so I'm cruising right on through to chapter 3 and then I'm going to wrap this up. He says, just how this desire or newly attained consciousness will embody itself, no man knows. For I am, or the newly attained consciousness, has ways that ye not know. Nope. has ways that ye know not of. That was close. I feel like if I said it the way I was going to say it, it still would have worked. Its ways are past finding out. Do not speculate as to the how of this consciousness embodying itself, for no man is wise enough to know the how. Speculation is proof that you have not attained to the naturalness of being the thing desired, and so are filled with doubts. Ooh, I'm not even going to read the rest of the chapter. Maybe in the next video. Listen to that. As somebody who had, and probably still, like, I'm not going to claim that I'm fully over it, but because of my doubts and fears, always wanting to control the outcome, right? Okay, so I want to manifest more money. Well, it needs to come through this avenue and this channel, and it needs to be this thing. And then I find those things falling apart and bringing me less and less joy. But when I just learned to release the how and really give up control, the problem was that I was trying to control these things. My dog's very excited because a dog walked by. I was trying to control these things because I didn't really think I was really going to get it, you know? So, to wrap this up, yeah, when you are trying to figure out how something is going to come through for you, how your manifestation is going to come through, you know, you want a nicer car, or please, we know that I know that one firsthand. When you're trying to figure out the how, you're basically saying, I don't really think I'm going to get it, so I'm going to go out and tell you, great consciousness, you know, mysterious creative force in the universe, how to get it for me, because I don't think that you're really going to do a good job. Okay, before I wrap it up, I do actually want to touch on one other thing, is that Neville says, and I don't know if it's actually in this chapter or not, but I think it's important to say here, that Neville talks about how there is a marriage between your conscious mind, so what you're aware of, and your subconscious mind. And your conscious mind is the husband or the man, and the subconscious is the feminine wife. And like, just imagine, you know, if you were like, oh, I would like, you know, a nicer work environment for myself. And, you know, that was your wife's job. She was able to create that for you. Imagine if you went to her and you're like, hey, you know, like, I just feel like I would love to feel this way. And you share that feeling with her and you both feel it together. And you're like, wouldn't that be nice? And then you just let it go and walk away. She's going to create it for you in the best way that she knows how. And it might be a mystery, right? But then imagine going to your wife and saying, I want to feel this way. What I have isn't good enough, and it needs to be like this, like this, like this, like this. Are you doing it? Are you doing it? Doesn't look like you're doing it. Why do I still see, you know, the same stuff hanging out? Yeah. How do you think that would go down in a human relationship, right? And I think of this all the time when I'm starting to doubt my manifestation. I'm like, ooh, gonna have an unhappy subconscious wife if I keep this up. You know, how would I approach if I wanted something in a genuine way, whereas you don't want to be forcing? And I can't wait to do like a whole video on that topic. But I'm going to wrap this up here. I could talk about, and I will talk about, Neville Goddard forever. But I highly recommend the book that I'm reading from is this complete collection. Let me tell you, when you're going through negative headspace, also what has helped me is to just read this book. Even if I'm not necessarily learning anything new, it's reminding me of what I need to be doing, and it's helping me stay in a new state of consciousness, because I don't have to rely so much on myself. You know, like in my own potential old ways of thinking, I'm reading from this book that I love. Speaking of love, this one needs some love, apparently. So, wrapping this up here, also thought that, I guess, like, YouTube has changed the way the notifications go for creators. And so I haven't been notified of anyone's comments like I normally would have, because I don't have the creator app. And so I just thought nobody was commenting for like months. And I was kind of sad. I missed you guys. But then recently I saw that I had some when I was uploading my last video, and I was like, whoops. So I'm working on it, and I need to get that new app so I can actually know when you guys comment. But yeah, it feels good to be back in the swing of things, and I do love hearing from you guys. And I actually know that you're talking to me now, and I will be catching up on that. I have shut down my website, and I'm just like, all of that is not something I'm really focusing on right now. I'm focusing on other areas of my life. But my email is still available if anyone would like to request services. I am open to considering them. So I hope this video finds you well. Please let me know what else you'd like to hear me talk about, how things are going for you, any fun manifestation success stories, cool birds before land that you're seeing. Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.